What would happen if 6 of the most terrifying, powerful, and massive historical empires ever formed on Earth attacked a modern, state-of-the-art military base in order? The rules of this simulation are crystal clear. Our modern base faces 6 distinct waves of attacks, starting from what could be considered history's weakest massive army and progressing to the strongest industrial empire. Once each empire's attack is over, the base's ammunition, bombs, rockets, and jet fuel will absolutely not be replenished. Every single bullet fired in the first wave is a loss that will be felt in the final wave. Taking a look at the base's inventory, we see exactly 500 fully trained, modernly equipped infantry soldiers. The perimeter is surrounded by deep trenches, barbed wire, a vast minefield, and automated machine gun turrets linked to thermal cameras. Heavy support consists only of 2 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters and mortar batteries. No tanks, no fighter jets. The soldiers are equipped with standard M4 infantry rifles and hand grenades. The battlefield is set in a vast open landscape. Rolling hills, dirt roads, and patches of low vegetation are scattered around. This terrain allows historical armies made up of hundreds of thousands of soldiers to approach and spread out toward the base from different directions. However, neither the attacking empires nor the defenders are granted any unrealistic advantages. Level 1. The Zulu Empire. Alright, things look pretty easy for now. On the horizon, a Zulu army of 40,000 warriors begins to emerge. They crest the hill in neat formations, carrying spears, traditional cowhide shields, and melee clubs. They are disciplined, brave, and highly skilled in their own combat tactics, but they lack any means to penetrate the perimeter defenses of a modern military base. Behind the walls, the modern soldiers are in great spirits. Some sip their coffee in fortified positions while watching the approaching force on screens. Commanders calmly review the map, and infantrymen even make small bets among themselves on who can stop more attackers using fewer rounds. The defenders maintain a completely relaxed and confident attitude. Still, basic military discipline is held up, and the soldiers remain loyal to their commander. The Zulu army charges toward the base from multiple directions. However, base leadership acts with extreme caution. The minefield is not activated. The automated machine gun turrets are kept offline, and no mortars or hand grenades are wasted. Soldiers step into fortified firing positions behind the reinforced walls and use only their personal M4 rifles. Everyone fires single, controlled, and precise shots. Zulu warriors advance in waves, but cowhide shields offer zero protection against modern infantry rounds. Spears thrown by the warriors cannot even reach the soldiers firing from behind the high walls. A few brave groups take advantage of the crowd to reach the outer barbed wire, but under intense single-shot fire, climbing the walls or breaking through the barriers proves impossible. Zulu lines begin to crumble before making any contact with the walls. The Zulu Empire has a flat 0% chance of taking this base. The attack fails completely, and the remaining warriors retreat. Base command did not waste a single heavy munition in this round. Level 2. The Sengoku Japanese Samurai. An elite army of 15,000 Japanese samurai from the Sengoku period spreads across the terrain. This force does not consist solely of swordsmen. Among them are heavily armored samurai, archers, spearmen, and troops carrying matchlock firearms known as Tanegashima. The samurai move with extreme discipline and deploy thick smoke screens to conceal their advance. The troops at the base are still having fun. Tactically, they expect another easy victory. As smoke covers the plain, some young soldiers watch like they are taking in an action movie. But there is a small problem here. Smoke and haze mean nothing to modern thermal cameras. Thermal sensors kick in, and every movement of the samurai units inside the smoke instantly glows on the screens in the command center. The samurai are far more dangerous than the Zulus because they have ranged weapons and coordinate their movements. While their armor provides limited protection against shrapnel or distant blows, it fails to stop direct M4 rounds. Samurai matchlock gunners and archers rush forward to open fire on watchtowers and walls. The rounds from the matchlocks are slow, inaccurate by modern standards, and ineffective against fortified cover. Still, a few lucky shots manage to damage some external searchlights and daytime cameras on the towers. Under the cover of smoke, the samurai reach the trenches and barbed wire. This is the exact moment the soldiers stop laughing. As the distance closes, soldiers use fortified firing lanes. For the first time, a few hand grenades are thrown to clear entrenched samurai groups, and extra magazines are spent. The Sengoku samurai army has a 1% chance of taking the base. They only manage to force out a few hand grenades and wear down a couple of external cameras. Level 3, the Roman Empire. Up next is the massive Roman legion of 100,000 troops. Legionnaires, auxiliaries, archers, spearmen, engineers, and massive siege equipment spread across the plain in strict military order. The Romans act as if they have observed the previous attacks. Realizing that charging directly into rifle fire makes no sense, they choose to stay out of effective infantry range. The soldiers initially expect another simple win, but when Roman engineers start digging trenches, building covered approach saps, and constructing massive wooden siege towers, the jokes stop abruptly. The soldiers realize this army is trying to solve the problem with engineering rather than running blindly into rifle fire. Roman engineers assemble catapults and ballistas. These ancient siege engines cannot compete with modern artillery, but the huge stones and incendiaries they launch can damage exposed equipment, antennas, lights, and weak spots in the walls. Wooden Roman siege towers slowly roll toward the base. Infantry rifles are not an efficient way to stop these massive wooden structures. Bullets embed themselves into the wooden blocks without stopping their advance. Base command is forced to call the mortar crews into action for the first time. The mortar teams target siege towers, engineering parties, and staging areas where Romans congregate. The first mortar shells blow up wooden towers and catapult positions. However, the sheer numbers of the Romans are overwhelming. They scatter, regroup, and continue digging approach trenches from different directions. Mortar crews work for hours, consuming a serious amount of ammunition. A large boulder hurled from a Roman catapult strikes one of the watchtowers, smashing the external communication antenna and a camera. Small cracks form in the walls. In the end, the speed at which Romans build siege towers cannot keep up with the destruction rate of the mortars. Additionally, modern soldiers deploy snipers to pick off the engineers building these structures. The attack breaks completely before legionnaires can reach the command perimeter. The Roman Empire has a 5% chance of taking the base. The Romans failed to breach the main defense, but they forced the base to spend about 20% of its mortar ammunition. Level 4, the Mongol Empire. A Mongol army of 150,000 horse archers enters the field. Unbelievably mobile, disciplined, and constantly changing direction, this massive cavalry force completely surrounds the base. The atmosphere is dead serious now. Soldiers understand that 150,000 moving targets create a completely different ammunition crisis. The Mongols do not offer easy stationary targets for the mortar crews. They ride at full gallop around the base, probe different directions, and rain down arrows from the outer limits of their range. Most arrows fail to penetrate the concrete walls, but thousands of constantly moving horsemen prevent the base from focusing on a single point. A few arrows damage exposed lights, sensors, and soldiers who stay too open in their positions. The Mongols execute feigned retreats, searching for weak spots in the defense with sudden direction changes. They do not need to understand modern technology. By simply staying on the move, they force the base to track thousands of targets. Mortars lose efficiency against fast, dispersed cavalry. For the first time since the siege began, the base must activate its automated machine gun turret network. The turrets create controlled kill zones along the perimeter, but ammunition consumption reaches terrifying levels. The Mongols continue sending small groups from different directions, keeping the turrets running constantly. As turret ammo drops rapidly, the base launches an Apache helicopter for the first time. The Apache's sensors, 30mm chain gun, and limited rockets scatter the Mongol cavalry formations. The Mongol Empire has a 15% chance of taking the base, mostly due to their sheer numbers and the growing fatigue of the soldiers. Level 5. The Ottoman Empire. An Ottoman army of 200,000 soldiers takes the field with massive Great Turkish Bombard-style siege cannons and heavy artillery batteries. Among the units are trained infantry, engineers, artillerymen, and a vast supply chain. The base is under real pressure now. Soldiers know they cannot allow the Ottoman artillery to keep firing. The Ottomans establish artillery positions a few kilometers away where terrain permits. Reloading these giant cannons is slow and moving them is difficult, but the iron balls they fire are insanely heavy. Their accuracy is low compared to modern artillery, but the target is a fixed military installation. They do not need to hit an individual soldier. Striking the walls, towers, and structures repeatedly is more than enough. The first shots land in the outer terrain, then massive cannonballs smash into the walls. Reinforced concrete sections crack. Guard positions become unsafe. Previously damaged cameras are obliterated. Ottoman infantry wait for the cannons to blow a breach in the walls. The base cannot wait behind the walls. It uses its remaining mortar crews against Ottoman artillery positions, ammo dumps, and support units. Automated turrets fire on approaching infantry. The second Apache helicopter takes off, and the first Apache launches again with its remaining scrap of ammunition. The helicopters target artillery lines and supply dumps. However, the Ottomans spread their guns over a wide area and respond with heavy rifle fire toward the helicopters. One helicopter is forced to withdraw with severe damage due to continuous operations, mechanical stress, intense ground fire, flying shrapnel, and low fuel. Ottoman cannons managed to bring down a major section of the walls completely. Modern defenders use their last remaining mortars to destroy the main artillery positions before Ottoman infantry can fully exploit the breach. The Ottoman attack is repulsed, but the base pays a heavy price. The Ottoman Empire had a 30% chance of taking the base at this stage. The Ottomans could have succeeded. The damage report: large sections of the walls collapsed. Mortar ammo is almost entirely gone. Soldiers are exhausted, and there are casualties. Level 6. The British Empire. A British Empire army of 250,000 troops steps onto the field. Redcoats, rifled infantry units, engineers, and effective industrial-age Armstrong artillery batteries advance in neat lines. Let's look at the final state of the base. Collapsed and ruined walls, very limited rifle ammunition, nearly zero mortar rounds left, disabled turrets, a heavily damaged Apache, and 500 injured, sleep-deprived, exhausted soldiers. The British set up multiple artillery positions instead of clustering all their guns in one spot. Armstrong cannons start a continuous bombardment from beyond rifle range. These guns are far more accurate and faster than the Ottoman cannons. The base tries to respond with its last couple of mortar rounds, but ammo drops to absolute zero within seconds. As British bombardment hammers the remaining positions, Base Command decides to play its last card: emergency kamikaze drones. Soldiers strap the last remaining explosives, hand grenades, and light munitions from the back corners of the armory onto their commercial and reconnaissance drones. This is a final, unexpected technological retaliation prepared by the modern military against the British artillery batteries. Taking off in pitch darkness, dozens of explosive-laden drones glide silently toward British artillery lines. Target tracking British batteries with night vision cameras, the drones explode one by one on top of Armstrong cannons, ammo caissons, and command tents. Massive explosions rock the British lines, supply wagons catch fire, and the bombardment cuts off instantly. The British army falls into chaos and panic, unable to comprehend what hit them. However, the British Empire is a disciplined force. Once the initial shock wears off, hundreds of rifled muskets and light field guns fire at the last remaining airborne drones. The number of drones is limited, and explosive stocks are completely drained. When the drone strikes cease, the British recover and push toward the breaches with overwhelming numbers. At the same time, the last remaining Apache takes off with the final drop of jet fuel in its tank, emptying its last 30mm rounds into the advancing British ranks. But the helicopter runs out of ammo in seconds. As the fuel gauge hits zero, it makes a forced landing on the tarmac, becoming completely useless. On the ground, modern soldiers put on night vision goggles and use their final M4 magazines to inflict heavy casualties on the British lines surging through the breach. Yet the problem is not just ammunition. The British Empire uses time against them by simply waiting and launching harassment attacks. They know the modern force is exhausted and severely outnumbered. Magazines empty one by one. Soldiers share their last rounds, and positions fall as they run dry. British troops fix bayonets and pour through the gaps. Surviving modern soldiers are overpowered by sheer numbers in hand-to-hand combat, crushed under rifle butts and bayonets. The British capture the central command zone. The British Empire had a 90% chance of taking this weakened base. That missing 10% represents alternate scenarios where the kamikaze drone strike and night vision advantage completely paralyzed the British chain of command. That video, "What if US Rangers fought the 6 strongest armies in history?" is on your screen right now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you in the next video.